Our next presentation today comes from Frank Jacks, who's the CEO of ChromaDex Corporation. ChromaDex Corporation trades on the OTC BB under the symbol CDXC. Frank, we see your screen. You may begin when ready.
All right, thanks. I'd like to thank Redchip for having us on today to let us give our investor presentation. My name is Frank Jacks. I'm the co-founder and CEO of ChromaDex. ChromaDex was founded in 1999, so we've been around for about 13 years. And the company was founded based on a platform that we've built out, and we built a significant reputation as a company in the area of natural products chemistry. And we're currently building the business based on what I'll call our legacy business, which I'll refer to or talk more about later. But we're in the process of essentially moving the company in the direction according to the mission, which I have on the slide here right now, which is to acquire, develop, and commercialize novel and proprietary early-stage ingredient technologies that address some very large multi-billion-dollar markets. I'll tell you more about the specific markets that we address with the ingredient technologies as well as the legacy business. Each of these ingredient technologies, even though they do address multi-billion-dollar markets, each of the individual opportunities that we have in our pipeline right now have the potential of becoming multi-hundred million dollar, $100 million opportunities in terms of ingredients. How do we get to those? Well, we gain, through the legacy business, we gain a tremendous amount of market intelligence by running the legacy business. And we use that market intelligence to identify the ingredient technologies that we bring in, and we leverage the position that we have with the market intelligence that we get as an expert in the area of natural products chemistry to drive that and then drive the licensing activities. And the third critical component to that, which is perhaps the most important, is that the legacy business itself, which is a growth business for us and has been what the company has been built on over the past 13 years, we need to continue to drive the growth of that business so that it continues to fuel the market intelligence, which will then in turn fuel the further licensing ingredient technologies that we're bringing in. So the basics of our business model is that we discover, acquire, and then develop or commercialize ingredient technologies using the model as outlined on the screen here. So I'll use TerraPure. TerraPure is the first ingredient that I'll talk more about later on in the presentation. And I'll go through it as sort of a case study on how we actually do this. And go through the model more specifically by using that as sort of an example of how we use this model exactly as it is right now. But this is how we essentially acquire and then commercialize the technologies in terms of the ingredient technologies that we're bringing in. So the ingredient technologies that we're focused on, the ones that we have in our pipeline right now and then also the future pipeline, need to meet specific market opportunities within several different markets. And all of these are very large markets, and all of the ingredients technologies that we're focusing on bringing in will uniquely be able to serve these markets. So the dietary supplement market, the food and beverage market, the animal health, the cosmeceutical, and the pharmaceutical markets or the medical food markets are all markets that we have our eyes on in terms of launching ingredients. Now we can also, outside of just launching ingredients directly on our own, we can also then seek licensing opportunities within each of these spaces. The primary licensing opportunities are going to fall within the cosmetic or cosmeceutical markets and also the pharmaceutical markets. But we have a pipeline of ingredients that will uniquely fit all these channels, and by allowing the entry of these ingredients into the market, we can actually, in the dietary supplement market and also the food and beverage market, move very quickly to start generating revenue with the ingredient technologies that we have. So if we look at the model of other ingredient technology companies that are out there, and some of the best proxy is a company, Martech, which innovated the omega-3 market. The omega-3 market now has become a multi-billion-dollar market as an ingredient market. And there's several companies actually that have been capitalizing on the growth within the omega-3 market. And there's been some significant valuations placed on those companies as the omega-3 market over the past, say, 10 to 15 years has really started to develop. It's allowed several companies to come in and participate. The IP portfolio or the IP protection within that space wasn't necessarily the greatest, and that's one area that we're looking from, or at least from our business model, to fix, is by having a more significant intellectual property backbone to the ingredients that we're focused on, so that we can better protect and better control the markets as we develop them. So if we look at the model of the market intelligence model on how we gain or capture the intellectual property that we have and how we acquire the ingredient technologies that we have a tremendous access to information of what's going on in the research community. And we've licensed most of our technology as university and or government related licenses. Now what we do is we follow what's going on in the research track using our legacy business, because the research institutes and the universities are acquiring compounds from our catalog, which I'll talk more about later. And we can follow that activity and then overlay it with what's going on in the consumer markets and what's going on within the significant players in the consumer markets. By following that activity, we can overlay those sets and then cherry pick at a very early stage and very inexpensively early stage technologies which are becoming the backbone of our ingredient technology portfolio. So if we start by looking at our legacy business, again, this is the business that the company was built on. We have 13 years of expertise in the area of natural products or natural products chemistry. We started by building a catalog of natural product fine chemicals. Natural product fine chemicals are phytochemical compounds. We started generating revenue with that catalog from day one when we started the company. And it's been a growth business and will continue to be a growth business into the future. On the back of that, we built our analytical chemistry based services group, which is our laboratory in Boulder, Colorado. And we do everything from potency testing of products, identity testing, safety testing. And those businesses both are sort of the core of what is our legacy business. And this is what fuels the information flow that we have in terms of driving market intelligence, because we can follow what's going on through both of these businesses. The two biggest competitors we have in those space are separate. The businesses are different. Sigma-Aldrich is our biggest competitor in the fine chemical space, and in the analytical chemistry testing service business, Covance is also a competitor, or our biggest competitor in that space. Now also, one thing I should point out is that both Sigma-Aldrich and Covance are also customers of ours for both of those businesses as well, because we maintain a fairly unique niche position that they require to purchase either products or services from us to fill gaps that they may have if they participate in our space. So over the past 13 years, we've developed the legacy business, and we've established a fairly significant portfolio of marquee customers, everything from governments, universities to research institutes, which are critical to our information flow, as well as customers in terms of generating revenue for the legacy business. We also have a significant portfolio of industry customers as well that also will fit into both of those, both the products, the phytochemical catalog business, as well as the contract services business. And both of those will continue to grow or work towards growing our legacy business, and can continue to grow the legacy business through our expanding customer base. We have several thousand customers all over the world. We're not just in the U.S. We do serve many countries in terms of both the catalog as well as service business. So the drivers for growth within the legacy business, so the standards in the analytical service business is positioned for growth. It has been growing fairly consistently, and it will continue to grow, largely based on consumer demand. The concept of clean, green, natural, sustainable, that space is growing and will continue to grow definitely over the next 10 years, and we stand to benefit from the growth in the space. Not only because of the growth in consumer demand, we're seeing an increased demand in terms of R&D related to natural products within most of the blue chip players as well. Pepsi and Nestle have probably been the most aggressive in announcing their strategies within the natural products or within the health and wellness space associated with natural products. And then the last piece is regulatory scrutiny. There's been an increase, especially within the FDA here in the U.S., on implementation of GMPs and increased activity or inspection activities related to these categories. That isn't unique to the U.S. The regulatory platform is growing throughout the world related to the regulation of these products, and ChromaDex, as it stands right now, is probably the single best beneficiary of the growth of regulatory scrutiny. Regulatory scrutiny or increased regulatory scrutiny is good for business for us. On Monday, we announced the acquisition of CDXC Consulting, which is a regulatory consulting firm. That business is a well-established business that covers a wide range of Fortune 1000 customers. They have 25 years of experience in consulting. By adding this business to ours, it fills a gap. We didn't currently serve that market. We can now serve it through the integration of the CDXC Consulting Group. And it allows both businesses, the CDXC business and the ChromaDex business, to both cross-sell and upsell to our existing customers and cross over and sell both of our portfolios basically to our existing customer bases. So if we look at the ingredient technology platform that we've been developing now for the past few years, we have three portfolio items that we're currently in varying stages of launching. The first is TerraPure, which is a compound called terastolbine. We've licensed a suite of patents or intellectual property from several different groups, and we've also been active in filing our own patents to underpin gaps that didn't necessarily exist from licensed intellectual property. We're going to continue to grow the intellectual property to protect that. ChromaDex is the first mover in the space. We're the first company to prominently launch a product based on, or an ingredient based on, terastolbine. Next in line is our anthocyanin technology. We licensed technology from the State University of New York at Buffalo several years ago, and we're in the process of rolling out our first branded ingredient called ProC3G based on anthocyanins, and we're continuing right now to roll out that, and we're in the process of rolling out as an ingredient. And then the last one is nicotinamide riboside, which is the latest development that we have licensed IP from both Cornell and Dartmouth. So all of the ingredients that we're focused on have to have, or we're looking for, a very unique set of, in a broad base of intellectual property to protect the ingredients that we're moving forward with, which is slightly different than some of the other successful ingredient technologies that you'll find in the market today, such as the omega-3 category. Each of the ingredients that we have that I've discussed before are in varying stages of development. TerraPure is the most advanced, and it's the one that we've been working on the longest at this point, and it is been launched as an ingredient now for about 2 years. The anthocyanin technology under our ProC3G brand has just been launched recently, the past couple months, and nicotinamide riboside is currently the one that we're fast-tracking for launch in 2013. So if we look at the business model that I put up earlier, in an earlier slide, if we look at TerraPure as a case study on how we got this, and then how we've gotten almost every piece of intellectual property that we have that we've licensed so far, we're following the discover, acquire, develop, and commercialize model. We first became aware of TerraPure in 2003 based on research that was going on because USDA was buying terastolbine out of our catalog to do initial research on the compound. And we learned about that through that. They were acquiring the compound, and then we latched onto it and then followed the research that USDA was doing on the compound for about 5 or 6 years before we made the decision to move forward. It's also important to note here that one of the reasons why we were watching it was because this compound is similar to another compound that we are also aware of, a compound called resveratrol, and I'll explain more about that later. When with the IP portfolio and when the research started to develop, we made a decision to start looking at a possibility of how are we going to make the stuff in 2009. When we knew that we could successfully manufacture the compound, we then moved to license the patents, which we successfully licensed in 2010. And then later in 2010, we launched our branded ingredient TerraPure, Terastolvine, in 2010, and we've been selling the compound now since about September of 2010. And we've also been successful on the commercialization side in signing up with Glanbia, who's distributing the compound, and we're in the middle right now of a significant rollout and commercialization of the first ingredient here, which is TerraPure. So what is TerraPure? TerraPure is a compound called terastolvine. It's a compound that's naturally occurring in blueberries. It's a phytoalexin, so it's part of the defense system of the blueberry itself. It's closely related to, as I mentioned before, a more well-known compound called resveratrol. However, it has significant advantages over resveratrol, mainly associated with bioavailability and cellular uptake. We took the compound and brought it to the clinic, and I'll tell you more about that later. And we've also received several awards for the development that we've done with TerraPure already. We've announced self-affirmation of GRAS for the compound last year. And the terastolvine TerraPure is backed by clinical studies. We're going to continue to do more clinical studies, and we have a significant intellectual property portfolio backing this up. We did our first human study, our first clinical study, which was completed and announced in September at the University of Mississippi. It was a double-blind, placebo-controlled study, 80 patients in total with 4 arms. It was an 8-week study, and the result of the study was that we got a statistically significant result on the use of the compound for reduction of blood pressure. We got a significant result on both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. So this is a natural compound that has a significant effect on controlling blood pressure, and there are no serious adverse events or safety issues regarding the use of the compound based on previous animal data that we had, as well as the safety study that we got as a result of the first human study. So we're in the monetization stage of TerraPure. We started developing the initial channel was the dietary supplement market. And we've been quite successful in launching and starting the revenue growth within the dietary supplement market, which has always been the plan. We're expanding now into the functional food and beverage category. We have an animal health product on the market already based on the ingredient. And now we're starting to pursue opportunities within the cosmetic or cosmeceutical and also the pharmaceutical markets and potential supply and or licensing opportunities. In July, we announced that we signed up with a distribution partner. Glanbia Nutritionals is a multi-billion-dollar ingredient company, and they're going to be our primary distribution partner for TerraPure into the North American markets for the ingredient. Last year, we also launched a consumer product line that ultimately was Blue Science is the line. There's 5 products in the line. We've been quite successful with the line so far, a little too successful in some cases in getting retail subscribership. Walgreens is the most prominent, but ultimately ChromaDex is not a consumer products company. We did this as a means of launching a marquee brand, ultimately about driving awareness towards TerraPure, because driving awareness to TerraPure is the most important thing in terms of driving the brand of TerraPure and visibility at the consumer level. If we take a look at I'm going to focus now on the other ingredients that we have and give you a little more color on the different ingredients we have in our portfolio. Anthocyanins are the next ingredient that we're going to be launching to the market under our Pro-C3G brand. Anthocyanins are the compounds responsible for the pigment or the purple color in most purple fruits, including blueberries, black currants, bilberries, strawberry. So the pigmentation in most of these fruits comes from these sets of compounds called anthocyanins. And they're critical because these compounds have a wide range of potential health benefits, and they're currently not very well established as ingredients in the market. There are crude berry extracts that are available as ingredients in the market, but they don't have the sophistication of having high purity specific anthocyanins to the market. ChromaDex is going to be the first company to launch a high purity specific anthocyanin, and we plan on launching a whole line of ingredients actually based on specific anthocyanins to the market. The best proxy I can give you here is as the market developed was the carotenoid market, the beta-carotene, lycopene, and lutein markets have developed significantly over the past 5 to 10 years. Those represent multi-billion-dollar markets, and when the ingredient technology started to be able to provide that as an ingredient, the market really took off for those, and we expect to see the same thing here with the anthocyanin market as well. Now, nicotinamide riboside is the third ingredient that we have, which we're planning on rolling out in 2013. And I'd like to say that right now is that if you had to listen to one single slide here that I'm talking to during my presentation, this is probably the one where you want to listen the most, because this right now represents perhaps the biggest opportunity that we have within the company. Nicotinamide riboside is a natural compound found in milk. It's a related to or a metabolite of a more well-known vitamin in the market, which is a very large market for a compound called niacin. Nicotinamide riboside has several advantages over niacin, and the primary function of one of those advantages is associated with the fact that it provides the same benefits, or if not more benefits than niacin, but it does not have the flush effect that is typically associated with niacin as a side effect. Now, this compound has been receiving quite a bit of notoriety lately. We've licensed the technologies from Cornell University in Dartmouth, and we're currently developing a scale-up right now process to manufacture the compound. And it's important for me to tell you that we've received a tremendous amount of interest, not only from the university level. There's definitely a movement right now within the research space. So the university level is trying to get their hands on the compound because there's a land grab out there right now for publishing on this compound, and there's a lot of prestigious universities as well as research institutes that are trying to get their hands on the compound to publish research based on the compound, which is going to be great for ChromaDex. We've also had a significant amount of interest from the industry. Some very significant large companies have approached us to collaborate on the development of the compound, or to potentially even license it in an early stage right now, or somehow establish a licensing relationship with ChromaDex on this, even though we haven't necessarily launched the product. There was a significant publication that came out in June, and the results that they published on the compound received quite a bit of press pickup, and that was good for us because that was right around the time when we were announcing the license of the Dartmouth technology, which really protects us quite well in terms of the future development of this compound. This is going to be a significant development for the company moving forward into the future, and based on the amount of inquiries we've been getting, it appears that it's going to be probably the best opportunity we have right now in development. So to summarize ChromaDex, just to give you some highlights of what we've been talking about here, ChromaDex has developed a business over the past 13 years, which is our legacy business. The legacy business itself is built out based on our expertise in the area of natural products chemistry, and it gives us, or it has helped us establish a platform that drives a tremendous amount of market intelligence. We use that market intelligence to essentially get early access and then license the ingredient technologies that we're in the process of developing and then rolling out or commercializing across some very large multi-billion-dollar markets. And each of these ingredient technologies that we're focused on developing have the potential of becoming $100 million plus opportunities for the company individually. There are a couple other slides here. I'm not going to necessarily go into these in full detail, but there is a ChromaDex at a glance slide, talks about our locations, the capital structure of the company, how many employees we have. There's also a slide that discusses the management team, and again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the management team, but I'm currently, our management team is a great team, a lot of experience in the area of exactly what we're doing, both a combination of the natural products areas as well as we move more into the ingredient space, we have the management team we need to grow and develop the opportunities that we're developing. And just a brief of sort of a slide regarding the cap table. This is just a top-end view of that, but one important piece to note is that Dr. Phil Frost, the founder of IVAX and now the chairman of Teva, is our largest shareholder as a result of a deal that we had done with the Frost Group about 2.5 years ago, and he's a strong supporter of the company. The platform we have on very efficiently and cost-effectively leveraging the intellectual property that we're developing in our portfolio is one of the main reasons why Dr. Frost had shown interest in the company. With that, I'll turn it over for questions.
Thank you, Frank. First off, I'd just like to say thank you on behalf of all those participating today for taking the time to present at the Redshift Small Cap Virtual Conference. We will go ahead and jump into Q&A. And you covered this, I believe, briefly in your presentation, but can you go over some of the benefits and commercialization plan of your newest ingredient, Pro C3G?
Well, right now we're following sort of the same model that we did with TerraPure. So we're developing the technology right now. We've got supply of the initial ingredient, which is Pro C3G, and we're currently seeking or trying to get dietary supplement customers to launch products based on the ingredient. And when we generate enough critical mass with that, we're going to then start pursuing clinical studies on Pro C3G itself. And once we start getting clinical data, then we'll ramp up and follow essentially the same model we did with TerraPure.
Thank you, Frank. Next question here. Given that you have such a large customer base and network of research institutions, can you expand further on the framework you use to find quality ingredients that are worth developing further?
Yeah, the information flow we get from the legacy business is really critical to identifying the early technologies, but then we use, if I can put a little bit more detail on what we're looking for, is that we're looking for compounds that are, number one, are going to represent a significant improvement over what may exist in the market today. We're going to be looking for ingredients that don't currently exist in the market right now, meaning there has to be a first mover advantage on it. And we're also looking for a significant intellectual property portfolio that will protect us if we make a decision that we're going to go forward with the ingredient. And then a small piece after that, part of the developmental side, is we're also looking for compounds that we can successfully manufacture. There are a lot of great ideas out there that lack the ability, you just can't make it, or you can't make it cost effectively. If you can't make the ingredient cost effectively, even if it's the greatest thing in the world, it's never going to be a viable technology for the market.
Thank you, Frank. Next question here. You just completed a stage 2-3 clinical trial on TerraPure. Are there business benefits associated with doing a larger clinical trial, such as a stage 4 trial?
Yes, there are benefits to doing that, and we're currently putting a plan together and looking at a couple different ways to pursue a larger multi-center study. We currently don't have it in our business model to invest in multi-million-dollar larger studies, so we have two avenues at which we can pursue larger, more expensive multi-center studies. One avenue would be through the grant mechanism. We could apply for grants. And we've been very successful in the grants that we've had so far. And we could pursue the grant mechanism through NIH as an example, as one means of financing those studies. Or the other side of it is that will garner a licensing partner who, based on the proof of concept data that we've been getting out of our initial study and also future smaller studies that we're going to continue on TerraPure as an example, that we would be able to get the larger partner as part of a licensing arrangement to pay for the larger multi-center studies so that we don't bear the risk of having those more expensive studies on ChromaDex.
Thank you, Frank. Can you discuss your relation?
Hello?
Frank, can you hear me?
Oh, it dropped out there for a second. Could you repeat that question?
I apologize. Yes. Can you discuss your relationship with OPCO?
Well, OPCO is a shareholder. They took an equity stake in the company in the last financing that we had done earlier this year. And Phil Frost is obviously the principal of that company. We have a relationship with them in the sense that OPCO is also we have a strategic relationship with them on the launch or the use of our products or our technologies into the Latin American markets. So those are sort of the three areas: the licensing deal that we have with them in terms of them, OPCO helping us in terms of launching products into the Latin American markets. They are a shareholder of the company, and then Phil Frost is obviously a component of that as well.
Thank you, Frank. Next question here. Is the company planning on doing clinical trials on nicotinamide riboside? If so, can you give some detail on the timeline for this and what effects will be tested?
Right now we're in the middle of, I would say our primary focus is on the category of commercial scale. We're working on trying to commercially scale up to the metric ton range in terms of production and material, and get a grip on the costs associated with that. We're not too far away from that at this point. We need to be able to produce it so that we can produce clinical material. We expect that we're going to have clinical material in hand not too far into the future here. And we're currently in the process, and we haven't necessarily gone public with the clinical strategy for nicotinamide riboside yet, and we're actually working with our collaborators, in this case Cornell and Dartmouth, on designing the studies and prioritizing the clinical studies that we're going to be doing on nicotinamide riboside, but I don't have any more specific details on exactly what the nature of those studies is going to be as of yet.
Thank you, Frank. Next question here. What's the average or what's the typical cost for ChromaDex to acquire the rights to a particular ingredient?
Because we're gathering these and licensing the intellectual property at such an early stage, the costs are really quite insignificant. So the risk to the company in licensing the technologies at the stage that we're licensing it is actually very low. Just to give you an estimated range, because we've been out and I think publicly have said this before, but our licenses typically will be in the range of $25,000 to $50,000 upfront payment with a small royalty. Almost everything that we've licensed to date will largely fit into that category.
Thank you, Frank. Next question here. Has the company been exploring licensing and marketing opportunities for Blue Science?
Yes. In Q2, we announced that we're currently seeking a strategic partner on the Blue Science brand, and as I mentioned during the presentation, Blue Science for us was quite a success actually, and as a matter of fact, it was a little too successful in certain ways, largely based on the amount of we dramatically underestimated the amount of retail uptake. Almost every retailer showed an interest in launching the line, which would have been extraordinarily expensive from an inventory and also from an advertising or a media spend. So we're actually currently in the process of seeking a strategic partner to sort of carry forward with that, and I can't really go into more specific details about what process, where we are in that process at the moment, but ideally we will have a strategic partner in the near term for Blue Science.
Thank you, Frank. From an investor standpoint, I know this presentation has had many reasons to take a look at ChromaDex, but from an investor standpoint, what do you think the strongest value proposition is to become a shareholder or acquire a position in the company?
Well, I mean, it's really the business model that we have. We have a nice, stable, growing business with our legacy business, and that legacy business will continue to fuel the market intelligence that brings us the ingredient technologies, and will continue to bring these ingredient technologies at such an early stage that we'll be able to bring them in, very inexpensively. Just as I had outlined in the one question about the cost is really quite insignificant in terms of what we can bring these technologies in for. So, and not only that, we have a very good chance of success with each of the technologies that we've licensed, because we are picking up stuff that is fairly well developed and has usually been developed at the university or the governmental level, that has a significant amount of science or research already underpinning it, so that the risk to us is this is not usually an early stage situation. So, and each of the ingredients that we're licensing, and I'll just highlight this point, it only costs us about, all up in total, our estimated budget range for developing one of these ingredients is approximately $1 million. And so the budget of development to the point where we are right now is very low. And the return or the potential for each of these ingredients being in the hundreds of millions of dollars potentially for each of these ingredients, it's a low risk in terms of the amount of money that we have to spend to develop these technologies. And there's a very high return. So the use of capital it's very efficient, and we can continue to do this moving forward. And that's really, I would say, the biggest benefit from an investor standpoint is that we don't have a heavy capital requirement to continue to develop the technologies that we have. And as long as we stick to the course and continue to license cost effectively, that is going to develop a tremendous amount of value for the company as well as its shareholders.
Thank you, Frank. Next question here. Does ChromaDex have enough financing at the current time going forward to achieve your stated goals to bring these ingredients to market?
Yes. ChromaDex, the easy way to answer this is ChromaDex is not in the market. We're not raising money at the moment. There are a couple drivers that we have that may not necessarily be obvious from the financials and the balance sheet that is in the public domain. We do have some unexercised warrants from the Frost transaction that were actually are coming in, and proceeds from that are going to continue to come in and have been coming in over the past couple of years. And there's a couple. We're also pursuing a couple other strategic options right now, which will also potentially help firm up the balance sheet as well, and that won't necessarily require a financing. So the company's position at the moment is that we can continue to do what we're doing without having to go to raise money right now, and we think it's in the best interest right now for us to not raise money and continue to develop the stuff that we have and build that value.
Well, Frank, I think that will wrap up the Q&A today. Thank you again for taking the time to make your presentation at the RedChip Small Cap Virtual Conference. We really do appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
That was Frank Jacks. He's the CEO and co-founder of ChromaDex Corporation. ChromaDex trades under the symbol CDXC on the OTC BB.